ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode. Here with me today is the infamous Drew Cubit. Welcome to the stage, Drew. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Mark. Thanks for having me on, man. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. Do you like my hat I got on today? I'm sporting a little bit of down under, a little Aussie look today.
Yep.
I
I
found
love the
this,
hat.
found it in my closet, and I said, "Why not?" I just felt good about it. So my kids are totally embarrassed of me whenever I go outside. They're like trying to avoid me like crazy. So
I like the
uh,
bandana more, but this is definitely second place.
you did like the bandana. The bandana was
Yeah.
absolutely cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
brought me back to the '80s, man. Brought me back to the '80s. So
That's it.
that was big in middle school. You know, my mom used to make me wear bandanas. It was horrifying, horrifying.
Oh,
But
man.
I'm glad to jump on here with you, man. We're
Mhm.
streaming to a couple different platforms. We got TikTok. Well, actually, not TikTok. We have YouTube, LinkedIn, and I think your Facebook channel as well.
Yep.
My Facebook got taken down, so that's a
Yeah.
whole nother story. We can do a whole nother podcast on that. But
Yeah, we should.
900,000 followers, and they just banned me. Just said
Yep.
I violated community standards. Bye bye. See you later. No warning. No. I even appealed it. Appeal didn't work. Nothing like that. So
It's crazy, man. I had somebody who I was put in touch with. It's funny today, a client of mine who I met through you, introduced us, and I helped hold a consultation while you were at a conference. That client reached out and I just checked in with them as I do with all my clients. And she told me, she's like, I miss seeing all of Mark's stuff on Facebook. And I'm just like, here's his Instagram, here's his TikTok. Go ahead and follow those. He got shut down for no reason. And, so you got people out there missing you, man.
Crazy, man. It's crazy. I'm running some Facebook ads that are targeting some of my followers and some of the people on my email list. So hopefully establish that presence again and get them to like the new page. I did start a new page, but it's not doing nothing. I'm not even posting on there, but it's kind of like a backup. But mostly on TikTok, and we have a newsletter we're putting out every 2 weeks, and we just actually sent it out about an hour ago. So about 6,000 of my contacts just got it. So if anybody's interested in getting on that news blast, it's bi-weekly. It's not going to spam your inbox, but it is packed with good information. I give a little bit about some history of the market. We talk a little bit about legacy building, estate planning. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different sections that we have built into the actual newsletter, and the whole thing's probably a 5 or 6 minute read in total from start to finish. So it's nothing like absolutely crazy, but it is value packed, gives you a lot of big information, which in fact, we're going to chop it up a little bit and talk a little bit about some of the things that are in the newsletter today. I don't know if you got it, or even if Drew, you're on my newsletter list, but I did talk a little bit about the one big beautiful bill, which a lot of people are a little worried about, they're a little concerned about it. Right? And so we'll kind of chop that up a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about the horizon, what's happening in the market, and kind of what we're hearing in the back end, what you're hearing in Vegas, what I'm hearing in Texas, and kind of go from there. But anything exciting going on in your world?
No, man. I mean, we're just, plugging away. Business is, picking up. It gets a little weird around this time of the year. A lot of people are traveling. The kids are out of school. People are vacationing. So everyone's always busy, including us, right? Including you guys too. So it's always hectic, but now it's rushing all the kids back into school and getting them ready for the year. So it's hectic, but I'm excited. I can't believe we're over halfway through this year already.
Crazy.
I mean, that's insane to me, but we closed out the end of last year really strong in business. So I'm kind of looking forward to just maximizing the months we have left, man. So, but it's a grind always. I'm just glad to be here, man.
Always. It's an honor to serve people and to help them. We're in the industry of money, right? We're in the industry of specifically protecting money, preserving, growing is like a secondary function of what we do. But our primary purpose right now is to protect and preserve that which is already there and established, right? We do that through annuities. We do that through retirement planning. We do that through trust and estate planning. And we do a little bit of wealth accumulation, a little bit of wealth building through some of the alternative methods like cash value life insurance and annuities, and structuring businesses a certain way. We help people with some tax advantage strategies as well. But you're also in the PNC side. You're also in the homeowners insurance side, right? Because that's kind of what you're doing right now, your day job, so to speak. What are you hearing, whether from clients or from associates or business partners? What are you hearing as far as the landscape, as far as the changing of guards, as far as maybe some rules, laws changing? Is positive things to come? Is it going to be rough waters? What's your insight coming from an eye of a insurance agent, but not just life insurance, doing several other lines of insurance as well?
Yeah, I mean, as far as PNC, which is property casualty, the home and auto, and other lines, but mainly home and auto, it's very tough. I mean, it, I know it, not just because we're in the insurance arena, but because we're consumers. I mean, I don't think that I'm making a bold statement, but I don't think there's a single person that is out there right now that is happy with what's going on, right? Like, they are constantly looking at their renewals, whether it's every 6 months, 12 months. Why is the rate going up all the time? So what we're seeing right now, I think it's across the country. It seems to be across the country. Maybe rates are going up on homeowners insurance. And the reason why most of the time is because the companies obviously take rate increases when there's a lot of losses. Losses are just claims, and they're paying out large losses on houses. Typically, home claims are large because they're, wind, fire, water. So they're usually pretty big claims. But really, the part of your policy that you'll see increase is the first coverage, which is the rebuild cost of your house. And that's because the cost of labor, the cost of materials, if there's an import-export involved in that, and anything with tariffs, like, that's going to have a reflection on what it's going to cost the insurance company to get the materials and the labor and the contractors out there to repair or rebuild your house. So they always knock that up. And then the auto side, the auto is a train wreck. I mean, I'm in, like you said, Las Vegas, Nevada, and Las Vegas is one of it's on the brink of something interesting right now, but it's been publicized that it's one of the largest metropolitan areas as far as growth in a very short amount of time. You're getting a lot of people coming from multiple different states, but primarily California, as they tend to do. And that massive expansion is causing for too much population density in a pretty small valley, and not enough infrastructure, even though it's a tourist spot. Now you have a bunch of locals. So it's a weird spot. But yeah, I mean, rates are crazy. No one's happy. But let me
ask you a question. Let me ask you a question before you get into your next thought. I talked to somebody today who said rates are going up here in Texas astronomically.
Yep.
And one of the reasons is because there's so much new build. There's new houses being built, new developments being built. Does that come into play when it comes to insurance and deductibles and premiums? Because there's new houses on the market, but they're not necessarily moving. There's lower sales of the houses, but the houses are still being built. How does that all work? How does that come into play?
I mean, the insurance rates don't necessarily reflect based on how, like, interest rates on homes are, like the buying conditions. But it is, I'll tell you, one thing that does reflect is when a certain zip code gets vastly populated quickly, then there's a higher concentration of people, which means a higher concentration of claims. So if you were a founding member of a zip code and you've been there 30, 40, whatever years, and now you have all of that land is built out on, and now you got a bunch of people getting in accidents in their cars, having home claims. Now that's a riskier zip code. But also the insurance companies, if they don't have a lot of data, if they're establishing like a brand new community, we get this a lot in Vegas, because basically what's happening in Las Vegas is people are trying to buy out the government for land. There's bare land out in the desert here because they need to keep building out here. So there's no historical data that'll reflect how risky or non-risky this is based on like wildfires, anything like that. So they end up having all this criteria, and sometimes they even make that more expensive just because they default to, let's just charge more because we don't know any different, right? Instead of undercutting it, they kind of overdo it. So
totally
we
makes
see
sense.
that a lot.
And that's what's happening here. We're in Frisco, Texas. And so it was a boom town over the last 10 years. So rates went up. Now we're looking in Salina, which is underdeveloped and there's barely anything out there, but there's lots of new builds and new developments taking place. So we're thinking from now until the next 2-3 years that probably rates are probably going to jump up because it's unclaimed territory, it's unclaimed land. They don't know what probably like you said, no historical data behind that. But
new builds are good though. Like new builds are good for insurance though, because the reason why is a very obvious one. It's brand new. So the insurance company is going to say this house that was just built in the last either this year or the past, handful of years, the electrical system, the HVAC system, the plumbing system, the roof condition, the paint that protects from the wind and the rain, like all of this stuff is new. So there's a very small chance of anything happening other than the main, what they call acts of God in insurance, which is like tornadoes, windstorms, hail, rain, stuff like that. There's really not any risk. So new build houses in Vegas typically end up being the cheaper policy versus a house that's 30 plus years old, because now you're rating against that age. Yeah.
Makes sense. And we're looking for a new build. We're looking to get into a brand new house. Nobody's ever been there before. So hoping the rates stay competitive, stay low.
There's a few people off TikTok, bro. You see some young realtor running around doing the speed tours. You ever seen that guy that does speed tour?
I've seen that. And they zoom in and out of the house.
Blowing up. Texas is blowing up because TikTok and social media has elevated many industries, but real estate and car dealerships. You see a bunch of car dealerships, but real estate agents in Texas are killing it all over my page. And I'm not even near Texas, but I want to move to Texas.
Maybe that's a sign, bro. Maybe that's a sign.
It's a sign for too many people. That's the problem, bro. If not everybody was moving, then I would feel it's a sign. But because everybody is moving, that's how I know it's like.
So
let me ask you, see one of those kids hit him with a BB gun, say, keep my
let me
rates
ask you
low.
a question. Do you think it's a good time to buy or a bad time to buy based on some of the data that you're receiving on a regular basis?
I mean, the reflection I get in insurance, like property insurance, is going to be if the market is in a bad shape, then my loan officers and my real estate agents are sending me a lot less leads. So that's basically the direct thing. That's the main thing I know. But from what I'm hearing, I don't know a lot about rates and bubbles. I don't keep on top of that. I was a while ago, and then I kind of stopped. But what I do know is that from talking with these lenders, it's been this last year, a lot of people are scared because interest rates are super high. But what that does, to my limited knowledge, right? I'm sure if there's professionals out there, they may shake their head, but they can always comment and correct, right? If that's their profession. But typically, if the interest rates are high, then the sellers are going to need to lower their purchase price because they're going to have to ease the buyers into the transaction that way, because no one's going to take an inflated purchase price at an inflated interest rate unless they have a bunch of credits or they have a preferred, if they have like an FHA or some sort of different structured loan that gives them an advantage over the next guy. So I think that because of that, it's not a bad thing, because we're always told that negative interest, right? Like we're paying interest to somebody else is a bad thing, but we're under the assumption that there's going to have to be a burst, is what I've been told. And I was told this last year before all of the big beautiful bill and a bunch of other stuff. But I was told last year that by the maybe end of Q3, start of Q4, the housing market should turn around, at least here in Vegas. I'm just not entirely sure what to make of all of that. But if that is the case and you end up buying because now you're buying at a lower purchase price, now you go ahead and you refinance into a lower interest rate later, and therefore you're not in bad shape because you're paying an inflated amount of interest for a short amount of time. So I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad, right? So,
one of the things that I was hearing is, well, you hear two different schools, right? You hear buy now at a higher interest rate and then refinance when rates drop, because rates are expected to drop, right? The Fed didn't adjust the rates this last time around. They're waiting for some things to cool off, but rates are expected to go down, right? They can only go up for so long, then they're going to come down, right? Because you have to balance out the whole economy. Economy is a big balancing act, right? So you got to pull the rates down in order to increase some of the, the appetite in the market, right? Because right now nobody's buying because the rates are so high, prices are inflated, and so people are waiting out. But sometimes if you wait too long, you're going to miss the boat, because houses could keep going up. if rates go down, houses prices could keep going up even higher, right? So it's like
Right.
kind of like a double-edged sword. So some people say buy now so you can refinance later. Some people say wait a year or 2 years until rates drop and then try to get in at a lower interest rate. But
Yeah.
that's like
Purchase price goes up
it's like, yeah,
because now,
it's
because
like the
everyone's
perfect
flooding
storm.
in.
You
You're
can
going to
never
wait
wait
for
for the perfect.
everybody to want to buy a house. That's the problem.
Exactly.
So when you wait for the interest rate, that is like the sucker tell, right? Right. That's the
Exactly.
short-term thinkers. And I'm not being critical because I'm kind of in that boat halfway
Yeah.
too, where I hate paying interest
Yeah.
on things any more than I have to, but I'm
Sure.
also very aware that the minute that these interest rates drop to a competitive spot, everybody, and their cousin's going to want to buy those houses. So because there's going to be such low inventory that way,
Right.
because they're going to get bought up, now you're going to have to keep raising your offer. And now you're paying more on a house, which is going to make it harder
Yep.
for you to qualify, because we also have an income problem in this country where people aren't making that much money. And with inflation and everything else, it's hard enough to qualify on a house. So really you want a lower purchase price that's going to help you qualify better. You're just going to be paying a lot in interest
Sure.
for an undetermined amount of time. But
Well, one of the things is, one of the strategies an expert was telling us is like, if you can negotiate on the closing or you can negotiate on the whatever fees are on the back end, take that extra money that you didn't put into the home, stick it in an account. And even though your mortgage is going to be a little higher because of the higher interest rates, pull some of that extra money out every time you make a payment. So it's not coming out of your pocket, it's coming out of the reserve that you had. So
yeah,
let's say your mortgage payment's $1,000 over what you wanted. Well, you can manage that if you put, 12 grand in the bank. Like
mm,
if you were to negotiate somehow and you were to, less 12K into the first, set of fees, but you stick 12K in the back end, and then you use that every month. You drop, pull $1,000 from that just to ease the burden. And then in a
yeah,
year from now, you refinance and you get your extra mortgage payment down $1,000 or $800. That was
yeah,
one of the strategies that we were told recently, but it
yeah,
just depends. I mean, I'd say probably it's the best time to buy because you never know in 2 years what the prices are going to be with technology and the advancement of everything, including
yeah,
AI. We may have fully functional robots in 2 years that come with houses. We don't know. It might be,
yeah,
it might be a seller's bonus. Hey, if you buy my house, it comes with a pre-programmed robot that's going to do everything for you. We don't know. They could, I swear to you, in the next 5 to 10 years, we could have something like that in our hands, which would obviously increase the prices in the homes as well. So we just don't know. Just don't know.
absolutely.
Talk to
Yeah,
me a little bit about. We're in the insurance industry, right? We're in the one of the wealthiest industries in the world. If you know how to play the game, you can make a very successful career out of it. You're in the process of, managing some time spent doing what you really want to do versus doing what you have to do. And, we know that, it takes work and it takes money to make money and it takes effort and it takes some blood, some sweat, some tears. But talk to me a little bit about why it's so important to focus on building your empire versus building somebody else's empire. I think a lot of people that listen to our content and watch our stuff, there may be workers, 9 to 5ers, that maybe one day want to be their own boss or start their own business. What are some tips, tricks, some habits, some hacks that you can share with some of our listeners?
yeah. It's tricky, man, because I really think that, I don't know if you can permanently segment people like this, but I think that there's two different types of people. And maybe if there's not two different types of people, I think that you can be one person and then a switch will flip one day, maybe not. And you'll get a vision, you'll get a dream, you'll get a taste, and then you just can't stop it. You
Sure.
crave it, you keep envisioning it. So really what I'm saying is that I like to be the guy. Like for all of my employers, I like to be the right hand man. I've always been that way. I don't want to say a suck up, but like I will follow the rules,
Sure.
I'll execute, and I'm going to overperform.
Sure.
And it's a competition. and everything. It's like, I'm going to be your best employee, and you're going to have no choice but to promote me. Now,
Of course.
what happened is, the economy started getting hit, a couple of years ago, right? It's been kind of volatile. It's been kind of interesting, but I was getting hit because the insurance market for home and auto and property, they started taking a steep decline, with the amount of leads I was getting, but also rates were increasing. So I wasn't able to make as many sales. And so I started looking outside, and then that's when I met you on social media. Right. And I got introduced to your content. I kept seeing this guy, and I'm just like, bro, get off. But I kept following it because I was intrigued, and you were in the same kind of space. And I'm like, how is somebody making,
Sure.
6 figures, multiple 6 figures in this game, right? And then I looked at how many followers you had. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, I've never seen this. So, we reached out and ended up doing some business. And I remember the first, individual we helped, do a transfer of wealth from an inheritance and set up an account. And, once we helped them out, I not only felt rewarded, but I felt like I was rewarded for my time.
Sure.
The compensation on that. So what happened is I started thinking differently. I'm like, what have I been doing? And I got, you have at least 1,000 kids. I know that. But I have 3,
Sure.
and mine are all, our kids are roughly around the same age. You just have more to spread them out. But, I started realizing how much money can be made in not having to spend as much time trying to make it, at least not as much time in such a structured, not flexible way. Right. So every time I'd hold my kids, I'd be like, man, I don't want to have to be like, sorry, I got to go into the office today. Like, and if I do, I want it to be my choice. So really the short answer is, sorry, I get kind of caught up in it because it's been such a journey of mental struggles between, fear and ambition and constant tension with each other. But really, guys, what I would ask people is, are you happy? And will you be happy if you stay doing what you're doing? And if the answer is no to either or both of those, then you probably need to consider. I know people in the property and casualty space. I've actually worked with people that are amazing agents that they've been doing this stuff for longer than I've been alive. Like, they've been doing it forever. Their entire professional career after high school, they went right into insurance, and they've been servicing, selling insurance, doing whatever, but they don't own the agency. They're picking up the phone and they're taking care of clients, and they love it, and they are awesome, and they're fine with it. I'm not fine with it because I don't want another man or woman to put a ceiling above my head and say, you can't go past this.
I agree.
If there's a ceiling in my life, I want to be the one to put it there. But here's the thing, I never will put it there, right? That's going to be between me and God, what my capabilities are.
Sure.
So I basically looked at that opportunity and said, listen, sink or swim. Like, I can't kill another half decade or decade doing this and wondering what if, because I don't know what my health is going to hold. I don't know how my family's going to do. I don't know what the economy is going to do. And it looks like long-term, the economy is not going to be in the best spot, is what a lot of people are anticipating from the big, beautiful bill. Like, right now, there's a nice pop. Who knows how it'll level out? There's not enough data, but long-term is what I'm focused on. And I'm like, I got to start building something, bro. I want to build something for my kids. And the kids start looking at me differently now because I brought them into a conversation with my wife per your suggestion, right? We sit them down, we talk to them, be like, hey, this is what mom and dad are going to be doing. So, if we need to do this, we need you guys to have our back, and we'll have your back, and we want full support. And I remember my 5-year-old, he just turned 5, and he says, so am I going to get a desk by your desk? We have a weird setup. That's why you see this pink chair, like some stuff because we're going to get into an office, but this is our setup for now. And he's like, so where's my desk? And I'm like, what do you mean, bud? And he goes, well, you said it's our family business, so it's my business too. And I'm like,
there you go.
Yeah, man. Can't say that about any other job, right? So I thought it was awesome.
Let's go. I love it. I love it. One of the things for me is being able to decide what to do when I want to do it. That's like the biggest thing for me. When I was working 80 hours a week, I had to ask permission to go use the restroom. I mean, it was to take my kid to the doctor, to go to the park, and take my kids to the pool, or if they had camp. I mean, I never want another man's thumb on my forehead ever again. And it sounds kind of cheesy to say it that way, but it's like, and there's always going to be employees and there's always going to be employers, right? That's this nature of the world, right? There's always going to be that. Right. Not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur. I get that. But for me, I want to be able to have the freedom to be able to, hey, if I need to sleep in a little extra because I worked late last night and not feel guilty about it, I want to be able to do that. If I
Right.
need to make sure I take my kid to ballet so she doesn't miss a recital, I don't have to, schedule a couple meetings for a few hours during that time. That's super
Right.
important to me. How easy is it getting into the insurance industry?
Oh, I mean, it's really easy, and
Let me rephrase it. How easy compared to other industries is it to get into the financial services industry? What was it like for you?
so here's what I'll say. So I shouldn't say it's really easy, right?
Mhm.
It is less difficult
Yep.
than getting a bunch of series licenses for securities, right? Like financial advisors, CFPs, all those guys. Like kudos to them. I get it. But personally, like I've taken the most legitimate route possible. I did a 4-year degree. I graduated with a 3.98 GPA, which is insane because I also enjoyed myself a lot in college. And I got a couple degrees there and a lot of accolades. So I tried to get very educated, and then I went into a bunch of different industries. But then when I came over to the insurance realm, they actually flew me from Vegas out to Dallas Fort Worth, which is
Nice.
where this brokerage was headquartered at the time that I started insurance with. They paid it. So I had to take licensing exam for property and casualty. So there's like a pre-licensing course. There's the same thing for life and health. Life is separate from health, but you can take them together and they just extend the amount of pre-licensing course.
Sure.
You have to take every module. You have to pass quizzes, and then you have to pass a practice exam within that. And typically you have about 30 days to do this with a lot of licensing software, and then you have to pay for it and redo it again.
Yeah.
And then from there, you have to go take your state specific exam, and you have to pass that with a certain percentage in order for you to get your license. And if you fail it, you got to reapply and retake the thing again. And then a lot of states will have you do, I'm in a state where they do fingerprinting. They do full background checks with fingerprints, everything. I remember they did a whole like character reference interview for mine originally. They haven't done that on my renewals, obviously, but they continue to do that. And then all these certifications, man, that too, the best interest qualification that we have to undergo. We don't just have to keep taking continuing education to
Mhm.
renew our license every 2 to 3 years, which is about 30 credit hours for a license to renew. But you also have to take constant updates, whether it's based on a product, the company's requirement, or a state requirement for certain types of things.
Sure.
It could be like your IULs, the cash value, looking at the different indices and talking about how to properly present them and fit clients into it. And same thing with annuities, man. Annuities have a ton of training.
Yeah, a lot of certifications.
Yeah.
How expensive was it to get in? What's the barrier of entry?
Yeah, I mean, it's not very expensive. And so I wanted to say that I know that laying it out, I didn't really make it sound sexy, but the reason why is because it is a
You made it
professional
sound
industry.
real because it is like that.
Well, and you know what? Just because something sounds like it's work is all the more reason you should probably look more into it. If I was like, hey, man, it's easy, everyone can do it. First of all, I don't want to work with those people.
Sure.
Most of the time, I want them to be like, okay, so this is going to take some time and focus and attention in my life because I'm going to turn this into something, useful.
Yeah.
But also, what does that say to the general public? Anybody can just sign up online. Now I'm a licensed insurance agent. That wouldn't be a very good representation
Sure.
of a federally regulated arena like insurance, right? So, but it is not that difficult. If you are diligent, you can get all your licensing done pretty quick. Now, what we had to do in Nevada, unfortunately, is one of the more expensive states. But when you take pre-licensing, you can get like life and health for us was like, I think it was like $50.
Yeah.
But the PNC I took was like 100 or another. I can't even remember. I took it so long ago.
Sure.
But let's just say 100 to 150 bucks to do pre-licensing, and that's at the top of the margin. It really shouldn't even be that expensive, but that's like the high end. Once you take that, you apply for your state licensing exam. That's like, what is that, Mark? Isn't that like 30 to 40 bucks to take the exam somewhere?
Less than $50.
I don't know. It's not very expensive. Yeah, so it's very cheap. You go in and take it. You'll pass if you studied and pass the practice exam. It's pretty much guaranteed. And then you just have to buy your state license. So once you pass the test, the testing center basically reports to the state and says, hey, Mark Sarr has passed his exam. He is now eligible to apply for a license. You just go on and put your credit card into the state website. Every state has a different cost. I've held licenses in multiple states. Some have cost me $7.
Sure.
And then others Illinois, California, Nevada, Arizona, they're like a couple $100, right?
Mm.
But those last for a couple years at a time. And the reason why they're expensive is probably because they're worth it, because there's a really good market in those states.
Yeah.
So it's really, I would say altogether, Mark, it is going to be probably $300 or less. I mean, you want to get like a little things, right? Like you want to get a small insurance policy for yourself once you're practicing, and that's like $20 a month. Like there's other things, but it is so, and you know, what's funny is like, you can go in and literally service one individual, help them out, find a solution to their problem, and you can make either that amount back or 10 times that amount back in one transaction, depending on how big of a solution you provide. Right. So,
yeah, that's good. I recently went to a conference called the 8% Nation, and the 8% stands for only 92% of 92% of the people that enter into this industry end up failing. Only 8% end up making it. And that's a very small window of people who actually make it. Why would you think 92% don't make it? What do you think some reasons are that people just can't make it work for themselves?
Oh, a lot. We have a great guy that we take guidance from, Rob, with Rob Sevilla over in Agape. You know, he hit right on it during a training we had him in, that you hosted him in, and he talking about the mindset. I think mindset is going to be probably one of the biggest things. It's that negative self-talk. And I'm guilty of it. And I'm guilty of it too. It's like, I got through a day like that today, man. This is seeing you is always a highlight of my day, right? But this is truly a highlight of my day, because today was one of those days where I was busy, but I wasn't effectively busy.
Yeah.
And I eat myself up for that. And the whole idea that Rob was coaching us on was, don't let that become a habit. Now, don't go do that tomorrow now, too. Don't you dare do that for 2 or 3 days or more just because you had one day. Entrepreneurship is very forgiving. So I think people probably give up on themselves. I also think a lot of people talk negatively to them and around them. So maybe their influence group is not building them up in a way to heighten their status, to heighten their level of thinking and their optimism. But also, you got to work, dude. Like if you're in a commission job, if you're in sales, I don't care what you sell. Most of the time you eat what you kill, right? So you will collect what you work for. And if you're not out there, if you don't have a form of leads gathering, then you are toast. You're dead in the water, because how long can you sit there without making money? And I've seen agents that go and they say, I had to quit because I wasn't selling anything, or I got chargebacks and it just wasn't worth it, and all the heartache of it. And it's like, it always comes down to a lack of leads, right? A lack of effort and positive thinking. But but the ones that make it, dude, here's what I do know, Mark. Here's what I do know. Absolutely. Everyone you know who is an insurance agent past 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, really after 3 years, if you see an insurance agent who has lasted for 3 to 5 years plus, dude, they're not miserable most of the time. I have never met an insurance agent who doesn't golf a lot, or doesn't take their family on vacation, or is out of the office when I call them and asking like, hey, I need you to do something. They're like, I'm out of the office, call one of my service people. Like, they're never doing bad, right? So that's how I know that this industry is worth it, if you can persevere through something you know more about than I do, but a threshold, right?
I think comes down to grit, comes down to determination, consistency. Some people will go for 2-3 weeks and say, this doesn't work, screw it, and then jump to another industry, right? So I think if you have enough wherewithal where you can stick with it for long enough, you can make it work. And of course, you got to find what works best for you. Is it social media? Is it mailers? Is it seminars? Is it dinners? Is it door knocking? I met people that love door knocking. They'll do that for the rest of their life. That's just what they love doing. I'll never do it. I would never go door knocking, right? But
you can't door knock in Texas anymore, bro. It's like knock, knock, bang.
But I know people that love it. And that's what they do. And they've built a huge career on it, right? So it's just like you got to find your niche. You got to find what you're good at. You really got to stick with it. And if you don't give up and you have good mentorship, you have good coaches, you have good people in your corner rooting you on and guiding you, man, I think you can end up being one of the 8%, like over the years, we probably recruited hundreds of people and we only have, 10 to 20 that are still active and still grinding with us, and a shorter number that are actually really writing business. Right. But, I think teaching them how to just be consistent and determined to make it work and having the right set of tools is going to make all the difference in the world. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Have you heard anything about the Big Beautiful Bill? Anything specific that jumps out at you when you were looking into it, reading about it, hearing news, whatever the case may be? Hopefully you're not listening to CNN, but that's besides the point. Go ahead.
I'll watch CNN just because I want to hear Mr. Wonderful talk sometimes. Or
Sure.
Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah.
He's him and his pink flip-flops on the green screen. I mean, it's interesting. I do look at the news, right? So I'm not under a rock, and it's my job to stay on top of financial trends as well.
Mhm.
Very aware of the lane that I'm in, right? Very aware of different things. But the Big Beautiful Bill, just from what I'm seeing, is it's exciting to some people because they're seeing a surge in like the S&P. Right. There's this like quick trigger pop that's happening in the S&P. It's hitting record highs. Like there's a lot of good things that are happening from it.
Yeah.
The negative side comes from projections for the long term. And that is how it's going to destroy our national debt and drive us trillions of dollars further into debt and turmoil. So those are long-term productions. But I mean, I don't know. I listen to the noise, and I kind of, just like what I do with everything, I take it with a grain of salt, and then I kind of move on. I'm curious, what are your inputs on? I know you kind of had a program, like little podcast thing. I mean, you're like the AI master as far as the people I know. So what information started coming up during that?
Yeah, I got to play around with a little AI tech recently, and we created a little podcast based around it. But, most of our content is insurance-based, retirement planning, trust and estate planning. So I wanted to make sure that, what was in the Big Beautiful Bill was, going to be helpful and advantageous for us, right? So one of the biggest things is Medicare is going to have a tough time with the Big Beautiful Bill. It has some limitations coming up with it. Medicare health insurance could see a little rise in premium. Hopefully not too big, but there could be a rise in premium due to some of the the things that were built into the OBBBB, I think it's called. And then as far as life insurance goes, there are actually some advantages to the Big Beautiful Bill for life insurance, estate planning, annuities. In a nutshell, without going too deep into it, some of the limits have been raised. There's the MEC limit has been raised, so you can actually stick more money into life insurance policies at this point earlier on without triggering any type of taxable event.
Right.
Let's see. There was this one provision that raised the estate tax. The estate tax taxable trigger went from like 13 million to 20 million. Now that doesn't really have anything to do with people that we're really dealing with, right? That's for the super, super wealthy, but it's good to know if you have irrevocable trusts and you have lots of assets from maybe that were passed down to you. There are some provisions in there that raise the limit a little bit. There's some stuff with the 1035 exchange, which means taking money from an old policy or an old annuity and rolling it into something else. There's some slight changes there that actually give a little bit more room and a little bit more flexibility to some people. And there's some deductions for business policies like key man policies or bonus or key bonus policies. The tax deduction limits have actually raised quite a bit, almost tripled in what they were in 2024, 25 to what they're going to be in 2026. So there are some positive attributes to it. Now, it's filled with a lot more than just what we deal with, right? So
Right.
there probably is some really horrible things in there too. I mean, you'll never get a bill ever that has everything 100% perfect, regardless if you're liberal or conservative. There's always going to be something that you don't agree with. But I think, we have to make do with what we have in front of us right now and pray in some better leaders, pray in some better politicians, pray in some better statesmen that will come and maybe help fortify some of the laws that we do have and change some of the laws that we maybe were there that are not supposed to be there. You know what I mean? You can only do so much in 2 years. The president's only been in office for 200 days, put it that way.
Right. Yeah. Lots happened in 200 days.
Lots happened in 200 days. So think about, he only has a short period of time, 4 years, to really make a lot of changes, right? And he's not the savior of the world at the end of the day, right? So he's not going to be the end all be all. There's going to be another man after him.
That's what people have to realize.
Yeah, there's going to be another man or woman, hopefully not robot. Let's just put that out there in the ethos that there will never be AI.
It could happen. I was going to say, as long as the robot is,
listen,
if the robot was disguised as a human, I could see that happening. But also, I could see America voting for a straight up robot if there's some significant pitch behind it.
I'm not going to lie. Listen. We read the Bible a lot, right? We know the history of the Bible, right?
Right.
Humanity has done some really dumb things, especially when a group of people get together and they want something and they don't get their way. They make stupid things happen, and it's happened time and time again throughout history. I wouldn't doubt that one day America votes in an AI to be their president or some type of robot representative. Yeah. Listen, I won't put it past them, man, but hopefully that never happens. But listen, in 4 years from now, we're going to have somebody else. It may be Democrat, maybe Republican, maybe independent. It doesn't matter. They're going to change the rules that are set up here, right? So it's always it's like this continuous changing of rules, regulations, laws, and all these things that are being set into motion right now. So you'll never have anything 100% perfect. But there is the good and bad in everything. And like my parents taught me early on, you take the good and you spit out the bad, and you just pray for the best, right? You prepare for the worst, you pray for the best, and you keep going. My whole thing is we have to just put our heads down, and we have to prepare for our families. We have to make sure that we are preparing financially. We are preparing physically. We are preparing spiritually. We are preparing mentally for the things to come. We don't know what's to come. Only God knows what's to come. But we need to prepare practically even, right? Maybe have a contingency plan if the what hits the fan. Well, where do we go? Who do we stay with? Do we have enough food, water? Do we have supplies? Like even that's important. We did a webinar a couple weeks ago about creating a 100-year legacy, right?
Right.
And so the 100-year legacy was all about having all of your plans in place, not just your money and your estate and your assets, but having your practical plans in place as well. Talking to your family, letting them know, hey, this is where this is where that is. Here are the keys to this. So they have a plan of attack if something were to happen to you or your spouse, that they'll just pick up the pieces and business as usual without freaking out. Because most families don't have that. And most families, when the patriarch or the main mom and dad or grandma and grandpa pass away, the family's destroyed. They're disheveled. They don't know what to do, right? And we've seen that time and time again. So part of creating your 100-year plan is making sure you have all of your T's crossed, your I's dotted, everything laid out. You have a family constitution, you have family core values, you have a mantra, you're talking to your kids on a regular basis, you're teaching them the ins and outs, budgeting, finances, even spiritual practices, and developing traditions within your family. Those are all important things because we don't know what the future is going to hold, and we need to be prepared on all aspects. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And, it's a tough stance to take because there's a lot of things that I think have changed. And, I'm technically millennial, so I'm not
I'm technically a millennial too, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I
Even
believe
though
it.
we're in a completely different age
Yeah,
bracket,
we're
I'm a
just tickling
millennial.
the other. Yeah, we're tickling the outside edges.
Yeah.
It's and everything after that just it all went downhill. Just kidding. But that's what every generation says. It's always the next one that's the worst, right? Everyone says
Exactly.
that. But I still grew up with pretty solid family values, but I think a lot of that has changed. But I do think it's important, man, because it's tough, man, because I feel like the people that care about that have a certain political and religious stance because they care about the preservation of something like that, right? And like, I don't want to be exclusive in that way, right? But like when I'm thinking about people that do that, it's people that, want uniformity,
Yeah.
not like a control thing, but it's more of just like the world is so crazy, right? I should say it like this. The world is nuts. The people in it are nuts, right? Everyone was created in a certain image and everyone deserves to be loved, but there
Yeah.
are a lot of negative, evil influences, even in your child's school. I know you
Yep.
homeschool, which is very smart of you
Yep.
to do. But for the people that don't, like myself, or can't
Yep.
really do that with our dynamic, it's like you just worry, man. And my wife's been in the education system for years as well, so it's like I don't have anything against teachers, but it's just like looking at all the different influences for your kids. It's terrifying.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, especially out in Vegas, man. I mean, that's our choice. That's our fault, right? We should have put him in school out of state and flew him home every day. But it's scary. So I think having a stronghold inside of the walls of your house is important. And what we do, like you said, I think that's why that's important, is because I think kids need to start, and it's all based on data, based on age. If you actually look at it, like the ages your kids progress, it's like here's where they care only about their mom. Here's
Yeah.
where they care about their dad.
Sure.
Here's where they start interacting and they care about what their friends think, and where they start getting all of their information and they start identifying and finding their own identity within their social group. That's
Mhm.
where things kind of go off the rails,
Yeah.
because if you're anything like me, I had some really good friends, but I also had some really bad friends, man.
Yeah. We all
So
do.
there's
Yep.
always that one kid, man. And it's just like your mom's like, can you just please promise me you won't go to their house? And you're like, yeah, mom, I'm going to the good guy's house. And you're definitely at the bad kid's house,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
But like that's where you start to worry.
Yeah.
So the respect, the principles, the religion, the political, preferences, whatever you put into your family, like the preservation is supposed to be important, right? And like keeping the family understood, like this is what we do in this house. My
Yeah. For sure.
we're big on chores and we're big at praying. We
Yep.
pray before our meals, and we all contribute in our household because everyone needs to feel like they're a part of it. Because if they're not a part of the hard stuff, then why do they get to be a part of the good stuff? And I know some people take the
I
stance like, well,
agree.
you chose to have the kids. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not gonna coddle them, bro.
100%.
Because when they grow up and find out that the world doesn't pat you on the back for showing up to a place you should be showing up to, then you get devastated, right? So it's like,
Totally.
I get it, man. I think it's great. I think what you teach in your legacy, when your 100-year plan, like all of that stuff, it's almost foreign, but it's not, because it's predated all of us forever, right? So it's like
We're like
successful families.
we're like the only civilization that doesn't practice what has been practiced for literally millennials. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hundreds, thousands of years. These
Yeah.
certain rules and these principles have been practiced, and then here we are, westernized America, that doesn't practice culture
Yeah.
and community. That we don't practice that. Well, guess
Too much
what?
division.
I'm bringing it back, man. I'm going to bring it back, and we got some crazy webinars coming up and seminars, and I have some big plans for this whole legacy movement.
Yep.
Just bringing back the foundation of building community and culture, and the right type of family atmosphere and the family environment. There's some big plans, right? So
Yeah.
we'll
And the
share
wealth
more
transfer
about that.
coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the wealth transfer coming up. We've all been talking
Huge.
about that. It's what is it
What was it,
between like
$84 trillion or something
Yeah.
like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's going to be over the next 20 to 25 years.
And you know what? That's why now is the time to make sure that
Right.
we teach families how to pass down traditions and
Right.
have their kids be ready for what's to come, because when they pass away, everything could be gone in one generation, and
Oh,
that
easily,
would just devastate everybody,
easily,
So
man. They need to practice it now. The people need to prepare. If it's their assets, if they're the parents, if they're the grandparents,
Yeah.
You need a bulletproof trust
Oh, yeah.
with contingencies that you control after you're,
Totally.
6 feet under, right? You need to have your money in line, right? I don't want to go on a whole different tangent. I know we don't have time for talking about all the places you should put that money, but it's having the structure in place, man, but also maybe get something set up for your kids and your grandkids, right? Like start teaching them financial literacy, because you can control it in the trust. That's a good method. But here's the thing, dude, like you don't become financially wise once you get money. You become financially wise as you are now, whatever amount of money you have, because you can make $500,000, $1 million a year and still be living paycheck to paycheck. And a lot of people post that. There's always posts about that, but it is true. It is your habits and your mindset and your financial hygiene is what I call it, that really determines if you'll be a good steward and successful with your money, whether you have a little or you have a lot, right? So
totally. And that'll be podcast number 2, man. We'll do a follow-up podcast. But where can people find you, bro?
All over the place. Obviously Facebook is fine. But I have a lot more interaction, a lot more volume of my content on Instagram. It's under Legacy Wealth Consultant. Nice. And same thing with TikTok is Legacy Wealth Consultant. And then my name on LinkedIn. I post basically very similar videos along all the platforms. My wife and I, we run Firm Foundation Legacy Group based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, help people with financial planning, trust and estate planning, life insurance of all type, those fixed index annuities. We also do health and Medicare as well. So
one-stop
we serve
shop
all over the place, but we are based out of Las Vegas, and we're very proud of that. We're going to make something big here, man.
Love it. Awesome. My name is Mark Cassara. You guys can find me, markcassara.legacy on Instagram, Mark Cassara on TikTok, Mark Cassara on Facebook. Legacy Wealth Academy, LLC.com is our website. Feel free to reach out if you need a legacy audit. I have some free legacy information if you're interested in creating generational legacy that you can pass down for the next 1, 2, 3, 4 generations. I got some free content. We're going to be getting the YouTube channel going, some long form content about legacy creation, strategies, techniques, and stuff like that. So make sure you follow, subscribe on all of the socials, and we'll see you guys in the next stream. Drew, it was a pleasure having you on tonight. I look forward to our next conversation, and appreciate you. Have a blessed night, everybody, and we'll talk soon. God bless, and good night.